Very simple yet very catchy tune, that intro interlude. Well, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the April 10th edition of Speaking of Zane, the 226th time you've heard this guy get on here and flap his gums about Zane and other matters. Good to have everybody in here a day late. We took Easter off, but good to have everybody in here on a Monday night. How about that? Appreciate you guys joining. Like I mentioned, this is therapeutic for me, so thanks for indulging. Let's see. Let me change a few of the little banners here, and we'll be ready to go. There we go. Okay, well, let's see who we've got in here tonight. Got my buddy Steve Shirley in here. Got to see Steve and Kathy a couple of weeks ago. Aaron, A.A. Ron from Detroit is in here. Hey, buddy. Got you in here. Appreciate all you do. Admire all you do. Let's see. Aunt Paula's in here from Florida. Hey, Aunt Paula, how are you? Matt Aaron, one of Zane's battle buddies from Michigan's in. Hey, Matthew, how you doing, buddy? My old Air Force buddy, Ted Boris is in here. Hey, buddy, he lives up in North Kakalaki, not Morehead City, New Bern, right? Did I get that right, Ted? I know that area because I lived in Havelock. My dad was a Marine at Cherry Point, so I graduated from Havelock High School, class of 1981, just down the road from you there, Ted. All right, got a Facebook user in there. I can't see the name. Sometimes it doesn't transpose in here, but welcome. Good to have you in there. Aunt Paula says she is doing well. I hope you're doing well. I hope your health is good. I know you had a little bit of a scare there several weeks back, but I'm sure that you are doing much better since you were here. Man, we've had a lot going on, Aunt Paula. I don't know if you knew, my daughter Charlotte and I went to Portugal for 2 weeks. I've been back and forth to St. Louis like crazy. It's been crazy. We ended up skipping, speaking of Zane, for two or 3 weeks because of all my travel and different things. But we've been back in the groove here for the last few weeks. But should be short tonight. Have a few updates and a few things to talk about Zane and other things going on at the fabulous McDonald Estate and Insane Asylum. All right. Well, let's see. If anybody else checks in, let us know you're there in the chat. I know we have a lot of people that just join and watch, and some watch the YouTube recording. But if you want us to know you're here with us, put something in the chat there. Good to have everybody with us there. Ted, you probably saw that a number of us gathered up in Omaha just a couple of weeks ago, I guess, for the funeral of Roy Walton. I think you probably saw that on Facebook and what have you. But it was an awesome ceremony, very well attended, and it was good. It was these things are going to be more and more frequent as we age, but it had a very reunion-like feel to it, yet it was very reverent. But enjoyed seeing Steve and Amy and all the others there, even though it was under less than ideal circumstances. Okay, there's my dad in there. Hey, Dad, hope you got my dad. My dad can fix anything. Let me tell you, I learned a lot from him as a kid and as a young adult, watching him and his tenacity. And he learned how to fix everything. And this is before YouTube. He figured it out. And then when he got out of the Marine Corps, he went to school to be an electrician, so that helped him. And anyway, he can plumb, he can electric, he can everything, automotive, everything. But he had a water leak at the house recently. My sister Sharon sharing with me, and had a dickens of a time finding the water leak, didn't you, Dad? And down there in South Georgia, they don't really have a lot of basements like we do up here in North Georgia. We have basements, so most of our plumbing and piping and all that stuff is overhead in the basement. Well, down in Georgia, they down in South Georgia and Florida, they don't have basements, so everything is in a crawl space under the house, and you either access it under the house or you cut a hole through the house. But it sounds like, Dad, you found the leak and got it taken care of, and I'm sure you're well on your way to patching up all the access panels that you had to create. But yeah, my dad can fix anything, and it's just awesome. I'm always amazed by him. But Dad, I hope you got that squared away, and you got a new water heater out of the deal. Thought he had a water heater leak and replaced a water heater that's been in there for 40 years. That's a good story. A water heater that'll last 40 years, but it turns out it wasn't the water heater. But now he has a new water heater and it'll last another 40 years, hopefully. I don't know. Things don't last like they did back then, do they? There's my Aunt Cindy over in Alabama. Hey, Aunt Cindy, how are you? Good to have you in there. All right, well, let's get on the roll here and see what we got going. Well, first of all, happy Easter to everybody. Happy Resurrection Day. If you are a follower of Christ, you know the meaning of Easter. And it is the most sacred of holidays for the Christian, for sure. Let's see. I don't see any birthdays lurking around, but there is a significant wedding anniversary toward the end of this week. In fact, on April the 14th, and a wedding anniversary. Now, when this young couple got married and decided to pick April 14th, they had no idea, being 20 and 19 years old, I guess, that April 14th was the day Lincoln was assassinated and the day that the Titanic hit the iceberg. So we found those things out later, but I say we because Lori and I have an anniversary on April the 14th. And first person to put how many years in the chat wins. You don't win anything, but you win. So take a guess at how long we have been married in the chat. And there's my dad. My younger brother, Brad, who is 11 years younger than me, has been married 29 years. Wow. Incredible. Him and Michelle, 29 years. Good for you, Brad. But put in the chat how many years you think Lori and I have been married. Anyway, we're kind of going to take a little bit of a last minute excursion. We're going to, hey, Spud, you're close, but no cigar, buddy. Katie, you're way off, dear. But we're going to run up to the Knoxville, Tennessee area. Very easy, 4 hours or so. But there's some cool little old general stores that have been in existence for well over 100 years up there that I've been watching some YouTube stuff on. Anyway, it makes for a really neat trip and something that holds a common interest with Lori and I. So I think we're going to run up to the Knoxville area to a little place called Rugby, Tennessee. Look it up, Rugby, Tennessee. We'll hit the R.M. Brooks General Store and a couple of other general stores and some other interesting things up there. Steve, you're getting closer, buddy. Steve's the closest so far. So let me give you a little recap. We met at Offutt Air Force Base. I was in the pack shop. She was in the age shop. She was an age mechanic, aerospace ground equipment. And saw her by the dumpster of the barracks, and she was covered in grease and smelled like diesel, and it was love at first sight. But she was a mechanic. And anyway, so one thing led to another, and she fell in love with me. And only problem is I had orders to go overseas, and which I did, but I did come back and marry her. And we had a dickens of a time getting her stationed in England. And she was very persistent about it. So she ended up coming over to England. But you guys are close, 36, 32, 37, still a little bit short, believe it or not. I know we don't look that old, but a couple of more guesses there. Okay, let's see. So we're going to run up to the Knoxville area, I think Saturday night, Sunday, something like that. So we'll tell you all about it next week. Weight loss. I have a weight loss update. Ding, 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 ding. Steve Shirley is on the money with 39. Katie, 40 is significant. 40 is significant, Katie. And that's next year for us. And I have some ideas about the 40th, which will be 2024. But I am not making those plans known. But yeah, Steve, 39. Tresden, there's my buddy Tresden, colleague and co-worker, lives in Charlotte. Hey, buddy. Good to have you in here for Speaking to Zane. We were just talking about birthdays and anniversaries. And my wife, Lori, and I have a wedding anniversary at the end of the week, Friday the 14th. 39. Steve Shirley guessed 39, and he was right. We were married in 1984. 1984. George Orwell's 1984. How about that? We had a lot of things going against us in the year and the date. And anyway, here we are. So, all right, weight loss update. I was telling you, I got a weight loss update. I lost another pound. So 76 pounds. 76 pounds is my current weight loss. I've got a goal. We started a new weight loss challenge at work, and my buddy Tresden there, although he doesn't really need it, he joined the weight loss challenge with us. And it's a 6% weight loss challenge. So the goal is to lose 6% of your current weight. And that means I have to lose about, now keep in mind, I've already lost 75. So the rest of these yahoos have an advantage over me. I've lost most of mine, but I think I've got to lose another to meet that goal of the weight loss challenge at work. I need to lose another 7 from where I'm at, 7 pounds from where I'm at before sometime in June. So piece of cake. Lori says I don't need to lose anymore. Well, you know what? Amy Walton told me I didn't need to lose anymore either. And that's a good feeling. She sized me up, looked me up and down, and said, "You don't need to lose anymore." But I have a goal. I have a couple of things I want to hit, and then see where I stabilize. So I'm just happy that my metabolism as a 60-year-old is able to work so that I can lose some fat. Okay. All right. So that's that. Got something really cool that happened that's back more towards, speaking of Zane, military related. Um, at work, I lead our veterans employee resource group. So basically, anybody at our company that was a veteran, we have this group that we get together and just motivate each other. We learn from each other. We mentor each other. We reminisce. We bring to light the unique circumstances and challenges that veterans have in the workplace. And so I have the honor this year of leading that group. Veterans. So I'm always looking for ways to include veterans and interact with other veterans at the office. And we have an opportunity. I may have mentioned part of this before, but I've been going back and forth to St. Louis quite a bit, and we have a lot of properties there, and we have a significant size operation at our warehouse in Illinois. And it's so big that we have a flagpole, and it has an American flag and an Illinois flag and our company flag and all this. Well, I was there a few weeks ago, and this particular group of individuals I had with me that week, a group of a dozen, two of them were fellow veterans. One was Air Force, one's Marine Corps, and as we drove past this flagpole, and it's a I don't know 40-foot flag. It's a proper flagpole arrangement, right? And the two guys noticed, as we do as veterans, that man, that American flag is worn and tattered, and it was definitely it was very faded, very tattered on the ends from the wind, and the Air Force guy said, "Wow, I'm surprised," and I said, "Well, let me see what I can do about that," and so. I got a hold of our facilities people, people that keep up our grounds and keep up our buildings and everything. And I said, "Hey, listen, we're just wondering about the status of this American flag." And they said, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, we hadn't really thought of that. We'll get one on order." So they ordered, and it has to be. It's an outdoor weather, it's a weather-proof sort of American flag, so that it can sustain the elements. Um, and they said, "Well, we'll get all three flags on order." And I said, "Well, when you get those flags, let me know." And because we would like to make sure that the American flag that's going to come down, the tattered one, is disposed of and retired properly. And they said, "Wow, okay, yeah, we'll do that." So I got the call today that the new flags are in. And the guy said, "Hey, do you want me to just run out there and replace these flags?" And I said, "Well, let me think about this for a minute." I said, "I think I would rather, um, because we wanted to make sure that the flag coming down was disposed of properly and it wasn't just tossed in a can." So I've coordinated with one of my local guys there in St. Louis that when we get the old flag down, he's going to take it to his son's scout unit, and then periodically they have a drop box. Periodically, they gather up the flags and they do a proper flag disposal. Burning and disposal of retirement. And I thought, okay, that's the best way we can do it. So, but the more I got to thinking about it, I said, well, why don't we do this? Let's let's gather up um, whoever at our warehouse facility. There's thousands of people that work there. Let's call upon all the veterans and let's make a big deal out of it. Let's have them come out to the flagpole. Let's ceremoniously lower the old flag. Let's fold it up properly. Let's hand it off to the guy who's going to take it to the scout unit. And then let's ceremoniously raise the new one. And let's make a big deal about it. Let's capture it. And this gives us a teaching moment. We can share with the rest of the company what all this means to us. So our facilities folks agreed to indulge me on that. They've never done anything like this. The company's 30 years old. Um, but they said, yes, we'll do whatever you want to do. And I said, well, I'm coming to town. I've got to go down there on the April 27th, 28th, 29th. So I said, well, if we can wait until then, I will coordinate getting whatever local veterans want to attend there, and we'll make sure we go through the proper procedures. Anyway, I thought it was kind of cool the way that all developed, and it gives us a great opportunity, really, to share with the rest of the company what that means to us as veterans. So stay tuned, and I'll give you more on that. And I'm going to get our corporate photographer to capture this, so we can have it, for our social media and different things like that. So stay tuned, and maybe it becomes a best practice across the company. But anyway, kind of excited about that. Okay, well, you may notice the hat of the week, the hat of the week, the hat of the week. Hat of the week always has something to do with what's going on here in the fabulous McDonald Estate and Insane Asylum, or something at work, or something in general. And this week, I had a surprise, last minute offer to go to the Masters, and I took them up on it without hesitation. I got the call Monday afternoon from my good buddy Kent at work, one of our directors in our cloud practice. He says, "Hey, Guy, I know you live down there in Georgia. I had somebody cancel. You want to come along?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah, let me think about it." Yes. And next thing I knew, 3 o'clock the next morning, I was on my way to Augusta. And it was absolutely fantastic. It was amazing. The weather was nice. This is before the terrible weather moved in for Friday and Saturday. But wow, what a fantastic time. So because of that, most people never get to do that. I mean, most people never get to go to the Masters, walk Augusta National. I feel blessed to be able to do it. And I told my students, I said, hey, listen, remember how I told you to build a very strong network and a good brand for yourself? This is what it'll get you. So I said, this guy Kent could have thought of 100 people before he thought of Guy, but he thought of me and invited me. So there you go. But anyway, so it was a lot of fun. But that is why this 2023 Masters hat is the hat of the week. How about that? Okay, well, let's see. Lori says, do I have a person to play taps? Well, I don't know. And I'm not sure that I'm going to have to check some protocol. If it's typical to play taps upon the retirement of a flag, maybe we'll try to do that. I'm not sure that it is. I don't know. I'll have to do some checking on the protocol. Got a couple of weeks to work it out. Okay, well, on to this week in military history. It turns out on this very day, April 10th, there are some items that fall into this week in military history, some things you may have heard of. First one, April the 10th, 1865. Now, what were we in the middle of in 1865? Or actually toward the end of? That should give you a clue. Well, at Appomattox Courthouse, General Robert E. Lee issued General Order Number 9, which was his last orders to the Army of Northern Virginia. And here's what he said. I thought it was significant to read. After 4 years of arduous service marked by unsurpassed courage and fortitude, the Army of Northern Virginia has been compelled to yield to overwhelming numbers and resources. I need not tell the brave survivors of so many hard-fought battles who have remained steadfast to the last that I have consented to the result from no distrust of them. I determined to avoid the useless sacrifice of those whose past services have endeared them to their countrymen. I bid you an affectionate farewell. Wow. Wow. That stood out to me because I had the opportunity just a few years ago when I dropped my daughter Charlotte off at the FBI Academy to visit on my return trip home. I made a visit to Appomattox, and incredible, incredible. Confederates and Union soldiers are buried side by side there, very close by Appomattox Courthouse. Okay, well, how about this for Steve Shirley and fellow communicators? Listen to this one. April the 10th, 1912. Listen close, Steve Shirley. The first wireless transmission was received on an airplane. Wow. And fast forward some 75 years later, folks like Steve and Amy, you were there, Steve, where the primary mission of our platform was communications. I love it. So, Steve, how about that? You'll never forget that now. April 10th, 1912. How about that? So you could say that the first radio operator was born in 1912. I love it. Okay, let's see. Fast forward about 30 years. April the 19th, 1942. Here's another trivia question. Tell me what the name of this was after I read the description. The day after the surrender of the main Philippine island of Luzon to the Japanese, the 75,000 Filipino and American troops captured on the Bataan Peninsula began a forced march to a prison camp near Cabanatuan. What is that march famously called? Anybody? April 19th. I said April 19th. I think it was April 10th, actually. Hey, Daryl. Daryl may know this one. Daryl, we're talking about this week in military history. Well, first, let me back up, Daryl, since you were late. Hey, listen, did you know this, buddy? April 10th, 1912, the first wireless transmission was received on an airplane. And Steve Shirley said he was there. Daryl's older than Steve, so Daryl, I might have believed that Daryl was there, but how about that, Daryl? That set the stage for the rest of us to follow, didn't it? And both of you got it right, Steve and Daryl. The Bataan Death March. Yep, absolutely. Terrible, 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 terrible chapter. Okay, fast forward 20 years. April 10th, 1963, the USS Thresher, a nuclear-powered submarine, failed to surface 220 miles east of Boston in a disaster that claimed 129 lives. Terrible. The Thresher. Remember that? I was only 1 month old at the time. I don't remember it, but I remember the account. Okay, and then fast forward even more. In April of 2010, our son Zane was doing a combat tour in Iraq, and during the month of April is when he came back to the States for their rest and recuperation, basically the mid-year leave, mid-tour leave, R&R, whatever you want to call it. And I was looking through his Facebook today, and he made this post on April the 3rd. He says, "I'm pretty sure I'm never getting out of here." And he was just embarking on, getting out of theater and then back to the States for that rest. And he posted on April the 3rd, 2010, "Pretty sure I'm never getting out of here." And then his one of his battle buddies, Shane Erdley, said, "Me too, brother, me too." And then I said, "Don't worry, before long you'll be in the land of the big BX." And then my dad said, Dad, I don't know if you remember this, April 3rd, 2010, Dad says, knowing what this is like, Dad says, "Be patient, buddy. You'll be in Savannah before you know it. Just think if you're at Baghdad International Airport, you aren't on patrol. Enjoy the trip back, and know that it will take just as long to get back to your unit." And that was true. And in fact, he did eventually make it back. Now, in this period of time, I don't even know if Matt Aaron knows this, but in this period of time before coming back, he had shared with me that he'd been hurt and concussed and knocked down to the ground, and he hurt his hip. And he had hearing problems, but he hurt his hip, and he was like, "Dad, I don't know if I should tell somebody. I don't." He was so worried that if he told anybody, that he wasn't going to get to come back for his mid-tour leave. And I said, "Well, how bad this, that, and the other?" And because I was talking to him, I'd be at the coffee shop, and we'd be. This is the craziness about today's modern theater. Is he was on online. He didn't share with me anything that was confidential or he shouldn't have said, but he could tell me things and say, "Well, I've been hurt, but I'm afraid to say anything. What do you think I should do? And because I'm coming home next week, blah blah blah." So anyway, we wound up not telling anybody and coming home for leave, and he did make it. And then Lori is right. If you see Lori in the chat there, um, he had a tougher time getting back, which turned out to be a good thing because he got to spend more time in Atlanta with Abby and her family. But you may recall in April, May of 2010, there was some volcanic eruptions going on in Iceland, and that interrupted the normal pattern of the flight traffic over the North Atlantic. And evidently the charters that he was supposed to take couldn't make it because of the visibility and all that stuff. So he ended up having a few days extra out of that. He'd have to go to the airport in the morning. Abby would take him, and then they would say, "No, we're not going," and then he would go back home. But just an interesting time. But he did get back and shared about what was going on, and they wanted to send him to Germany. And anyway, he ended up sticking it out. And but just crazy. He was ready to get back. He wanted to get back. He said, "I want to get back with the guys." And it's just some kind of compelling thing. You can't describe or explain, I guess. But anyway, so that was April of 2010. How about? I can't believe it's been that long. Can you, Matt? There's my cousin Toby in there. Yeah, Toby just did. Speaking of the Braves, not that I spoke of them. I'm watching them right here tonight. They're playing the Reds. The Braves are 6-4, I believe. But Toby took a trip. Drove from South Georgia to St. Louis, watched the Braves, drove from St. Louis to Kansas City, watched the game there, and then drove home. Nice little road trip. Let's see. Katie said, I went to Arizona last week for a few days. It was my first time flying in 8.5 years. Oh, yeah. It's an experience, isn't it? I do it a lot. There's a lot of things that help, being Delta Sky Miles and TSA pre-check and all these things, but it's not they don't make it a very comfortable experience. That's for sure. I'm glad you made it back safely. Okay, well, let's see. That was it for this week in military history. What do we got? What else do we got here? Veteran Cemetery Challenge. I only know of one veteran cemetery visit this past week, and that was Daryl, Jefferson Barracks. Daryl does a fabulous job of documenting his visits. I so look forward to reading those, and Daryl made a visit. So I think we just had one visit this week. Jimbo made his normal trip to the base, but he didn't get a chance to stop by Omaha National. So we're sitting currently at 780 visits to 173 different veteran cemeteries. I do need to update the map. I haven't got around to it to reflect the 173 different locations. Okay, let's see. Moving on to the Thank a Vet Challenge. We did have some thank yous this week. Daryl had an encounter with a Vietnam veteran named Cody. They had a chat. And Jim thanked 3 active duty Air Force people at Offutt Air Force Base this past week. I had the opportunity at work, or not at work, work at the Masters. I saw a Marine, guy wearing a Marine hat. I thanked a Marine there. So we had 5 thank yous this week, which take us up to, drum roll, last week we surpassed our 2,000. We hit our 2,000. We're at 2005. Let me show you what Lori did. Hang on. Dun, dun, dun. We converted the 1,000 thank yous to 2,000 thank yous. How about that? Love the Speaking of Zane logo and the American flag. And now we're at 2000 and on to 3000. How about that? And in pretty short order, actually, if you ask me, just a few years. But thank all you guys for participating and playing along with us. It's been a fabulous ride. That doesn't look too bad, does it, Lori? I used a little bit of white paint on your two there. So hopefully that came out okay. So you guys, this is your number here, guys. Thank you so much for doing that, and we look forward to another 1,000 somewhere along the way. But I love it. Okay, I think about half of those are attributed to my Aunt Paula. Right, Aunt Paula? Just kidding. No, everybody has contributed nicely. Okay, well, let's see. That was the. Let me change these. I just realized I got my birth control glasses on. Let me change to these here. Those are a little more sleek. Okay. Let's see. We covered our Think a Bet Cemetery Challenge, This Week in Military History, and no updates on the organizations at the moment, just the normal Running to Honor 5Ks coming up in July. My Warriors Place will be moving sometime this year, so we have an opportunity, maybe even as a team, as a Speaking of Zane group, to contribute to that. Hope to go down there and help physically. Got a lot of things I need to do with the internet and the network and all of those things that go along with it. So I'm looking forward to that. But that is it. Fortunately, I don't have anything to report about any casualties or accidents or anything like that. Now, there may have been some that I just missed, but I haven't seen anything in the news. But we certainly, anytime something like that wants to happens, we want to call it out. We don't want to ignore it, for sure. Okay, folks. Well, hey, listen, I have enjoyed Speaking of Zane tonight. I hope you have too. Congratulations on passing 2,000 thank yous. And like I said, Lori and I are going out of town, I guess early Saturday morning, come back sometime Sunday afternoon, evening. So I'll let you guys know about Speaking of Zane next week. Maybe we do Monday again. I don't know. It depends on when we get back. But have a great week. If you see a veteran, tell them thank you. You'll feel good. They'll feel good. So how about that? All right, gang. Well, be good. See you next week for Speaking of Zane. It'll be our 226th edition. So no, 227th edition will be next week. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys then. Take care.